Good afternoon, class. Aloha. Welcome to Host 100. This is your instructor, lecturer host Mel Manuel. Welcome to class. We're in week 3, chapter 3, talking about verbal communications. I hope everyone is tuning in onto this video lecture. Let's go ahead and start with a quick video from YouTube.
Communication is a complex process. The words we use and how we use them, the tone and pitch of our voice, the non-verbal messages we send, how we give and interpret feedback are only part of the communication process. How well we receive, listen, interpret and respond to messages from others, and how we deal with the many barriers to effective communication are also important factors in the communication process. An important component of effective communication is body language. Did you know that over 55% of the messages you send are sent through your body language? And that non-verbal messages are more powerful than what we actually say. Everyone who speaks has a voice. It's just the outcome of how your voice is used that affects the situation. The pitch and tone is more important than the words we use in delivering the message. First impressions and greetings are vital. This time the managers looked like they wanted to hear. Their body language was positive. Even the seating at the table encouraged discussion. As a result, the managers appeared friendly and interested. The workers felt they were listened to, and their ideas were taken seriously. The combination of positive body language and the way the managers used their voices led to a successful outcome. Dale Carnegie once said, "When dealing with people, remember you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotion." So what you say and how you say it is a vital component in communicating effectively.
Well, that was a quick video. We're talking about communication, and truly, that body language is says a lot of who we are and what we do. Welcome to class, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great evening. It's a Tuesday evening here on Kauai. Finally got this thing going. I hope everyone is caught up with their work. Just a few class announcements. Uh, I hope. Well, first off, I hope everyone has their lecture notes. If you're viewing this, I'll post it on La Lima. Please print it out, and if you're not printed it out, print it out. Go ahead and stop the video and take some time to print it, and then you can come back and watch the video. Anyway, class announcements. We have. Let's see. Well, first off, Candice Tabucci, the department head over at Kauai Community College, has some trinkets for our online students. We have some jump drives, um, calculators, small calculators for students that are on the online education process. So you are welcome to stop by Candice Tabucci office in the business building. Let her know that you're the online student. These are for Kauai students only. If you're those who are on the outer islands would like to have a jump drive or a small pocket calculator, uh, send me your mailing address and I can forward that to Candice, our department head, and she'll be happy to send those out to you. Once again, we have a jump drives as part of the grant that was written, and she wants to reward everybody that's doing the online studies. Um, Anyway, the computers or laptops in the business building are available for our online students. You're welcome to use them. They're not quite ready yet, but I highly encourage you to use these resources, for they are part of the grant that was written and given to our college here at KCC. Kauai Community College. So if you know where the computers are, see Candace, and you can, or Carol at the business desk. She'll be happy to get you signed up. Please ensure you have a proper ID, preferably your student ID, or else a receipt verifying you are a student and you are who you are. Just a couple reminders that I've done the grading. Um, Somewhat okay about it. Some of you have not turned in your work. Kind of disappointed in that part because everything's pretty straightforward. Everything's on La Lima. If you're struggling and are not sure where to get the information, everything's on La Lima. I did do a short video last night for you all to look at and try to navigate where to put stuff. Um, that's why I created these videos, kind of give you a step-by-step process. If you're not watching the video, then you are missing out on information. Those who are um, good with online learning, that's good. To those who are new to it, um, please take some time to watch the videos. If you're not sure, please call me as soon as possible. I really want everybody to pass this class. It's not a hard class. It just takes focus and time and commitment. Anyways, we're talking about verbal communications. Let's get to our lectures. Please sit comfortably for me with the next half hour or 1 hour. I'll try to get through this as fast as possible. So please sit comfortably with your notes in hand. Once again, you're welcome to make notations on your printout. Also, exam 1 is coming up next week, starting Tuesday through Monday. So you folks have a good 6 days to work on the exam. The exam covers 1, 2, and 3. If you've read and you've done your homework and have the lecture notes and you got the PowerPoint, you should be able to answer the questions. Basically, the exam is quite comprehensive. It's 100 points. There's true and false and multiple choice. So it's pretty straightforward. It is an open book exam, so you can refer to your information in the text. You do have 6 days to finish it. Please don't delay for the last minute because it's actually going to hurt you if you try to finish it before submittal time. So I've given you 6 days. I'll have it up online. Print it out, answer it, and go back onto the word processor and answer by circling the correct answer or marking with a highlighter on your computer in Microsoft Word. Or if you want to print it out, you want to handwrite it, you can PDF it back to me. I'll do the grade that way. There's various ways, or else you can fax it to me. Don't fax it to me. Email it to me as an attachment. So at least I know that you printed it out and you answered it. If you're not sure how to do that, I'll be more than happy to show you an example in another short video before we start. Also, the exam, please start thinking about it, start prepping for it. It's pretty straightforward. So you guys got 6 days to work on this. It's more than enough time. Please make arrangements with your employer to and with your family to do this exam, because you're the student, and it's to your benefit to passing this class, to getting closer to moving on with your next class or next semester. So please, please, please try to make every effort. Don't wait till the last minute to do the exam because it's quite lengthy. So that's why I've given you guys 6 days. Also, next week I'll be introducing the application process, the application project, the customer service professional interview project, and the customer assessment interaction project. So I'll have those written out for you. The syllabus should be ready by Thursday. I'll have everything posted and timelined. So the work is going to start to get a little heavier, as I noted before, but I trust that all of you are good time managers and will be able to manage your time accordingly in prioritization. All right, let's get to the lecture. Chapter 3, it's on the here's your PowerPoint. I hope you've read your text. If you've not read your text, read your text. If you're not printing out the notes, print the notes out so you can follow along. This is, I can't stress enough, verbal communications. We all have to communicate with each other, and as customer service professionals, we have to articulate and communicate information clearly and concisely to our customers and with our peers and our supervisors and our managers. So, chapter 3, verbal communication skills. Here are some. This chapter is pretty lengthy, so I'll spend a little bit more time on the communication part because communication is so important in our world today. So here's our learning objectives. Explain the importance of effective communication in customer service. Recognize the elements of effective two-way interpersonal communication. Project a professional customer service image through positive communication. Provide feedback effectively. Avoid language that could send a negative message and harm the customer relationship. Use assertive communication techniques to enhance service. And our last topic is identify key differences between assertive and aggressive behavior in communications. All right. So those are our learning objectives. Go ahead and turn to your handout. Let's get started. All right, here we go. Elements for communication, effective communication. Recognize how to tend to communication. Understand how the communication process works. All right, so the elements, there are two elements to effective communication. It's recognize how it tends to communicate and how to communicate process works. The process of communication involves active participation by both the business and its customers. So, as sales representatives or customer service reps, we need to communicate to our clients, our customers, with clarity. And if they're asking questions, we need to know how to communicate back appropriately, knowing that we know what we're talking about and how to make a sale and make sure that any questions that our customers ask of us, we have the answer. And if we don't have an answer, we can find it. But most times, you should be educated enough to um, communicate effectively with our customers. All right, so the communication process, our second point is two-way communication is an active process in which two individuals apply all the elements of communications, listening, feedback, etc., in order to effectively exchange information and ideas. Be aware of the elements of two-way communication and the importance of each. Help facilitate people's communication success. So when we are talking to people, we need to make sure that we are communicating correctly. In this fashion, when we're communicating with someone in a business perspective, we need to speak with professionalism. We need to speak with knowledge, and most importantly, the use of standard English in our communications. In return, when somebody's speaking to us, we have to listen. The old saying that it's better to listen than to speak. That is so true. Because if we talk, guess what? We will tend to bore the people. I have the tendency myself to talk a lot. You know that already when you're watching these videos. Well, of course, I love to talk story with people. I love to communicate. But then again, I need to step back and listen to others. Because I tend to dominate a communication, and I've learned and matured to say that, you know what, Mel, you got to be quiet. Yeah, Mel, be quiet. Just listen. All right. So when we look at the interpersonal communication model, if you turn to, there are several elements in the text that talks about environment, the sender. Okay, so we look at the uh, communications also is important to building strong relationships. When friends talk to each other, and one is listening, one is speaking, and one is speaking, and one is listening, that creates a bond of a relationship. There's a mutual understanding, and the good friends talk to each other, catching up on old times. So we communicate in a variety of ways, with our friends, with our family, with our children, with our colleagues. There are many forms of communications: verbally, written, body language, email, text, video, like I'm talking to you. So let's look at these. So gathering information, we want to know what we're talking about. We need to be educated in what we're talking about, especially if we're selling something to our customer. We need to make sure we are knowledgeable about our products and services that are being offered by the company or organization that we be consistent. Being consistent in our communication, we need to ensure that we hold account to what we're saying is to be true, and not to fluff it up and make it otherwise, because that'd be false. We all need to be consistent in our communications with other people. So that's important because it instills confidence in the person we are talking to. Demonstrate openness. Then this goes to listening to people. Having an open mind, open heart is part of our communication process, and we'll touch on that later on in this presentation. So, demonstrating openness is also having a sense of being genuine, being sincere, and being understanding and compassionate, and showing empathy. When a customer has a complaint, we need to listen and hear what they have to say. Okay, be personable. This is my favorite. Being personable with our customers and clients and guests. Um, like I made a model in the restaurant business that I I just don't provide great service. I personalize my service to my guests, and I hold to that model each time that I'm on the dining room floor. That each of my guests has personalized service, not only personable, personalized service. So I want to make sure that my customers are well taken care of and they have a great time. And if they have any things that they needs, I'm there to help them out. So strong relationships is part of communications. Two-way communications. This I kind of touched that on. Two individuals apply elements in interpersonal communication to effectively exchange information and ideas. Okay, so we're talking to people. If we're talking in a business format, we're brainstorming in a team effort. Um, it, it varies in scenarios. What we're talking about is that we're exchanging ideas. We're learning about something else that we may not have known of. So that goes to being open. We can be open to learning something. That's part of communication because it may enhance our own thought process. And I've learned to do that. And I hope all of you will be effective in two-way communication. Now moving on, we have the environment, the sender, the receiver, message, channel, encoding and decoding. So this is kind of like the process flowchart of how communication is done. So the environment in which people send and receive messages affects the effectiveness of their message. So where are we talking? Are we talking in the cafe? Or are we talking in the office? Are we talking outside? So do we talk in a nice quiet area, especially when we need to, if we're a manager or supervisor and we need to correct our subordinates, we need to set the environment. So even in an interview, in your communication in an interview, uh, You want to be focused. You want to be attentive because if the interviewer is asking you a question, you need to think a little bit and how to communicate and respond back. Sender. So I'm talking to you. I'm sending information to you. I'm the sender. Now you're the receiver. Okay, you're listening to me. You're getting the information. You're taking down your notes. So I'm the sender. Now, if you're talking to me, I am the receiver. I am listening to you now. So I'm receiving the information back to me on what, if you're disagreeing with me or you agree with me or you are encouraging me, whatever it may be. So that's how that works. The message of how we communicate is the content of what we're talking about. So, for example, if I am being disciplined by my supervisor for not doing a procedure correctly, uh, I've been there. I've done things not too bad, but it caught the attention of the manager, and I've been corrected. I've been disciplined. But the process is the message. I'm being disciplined. Um, my boss is telling me, Mel, you did this. What happened? Da 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 da. Please make sure that you don't do it again. Here's your coaching counseling. Just want to let you know where the policy is about this. So the message, ideas. Also, in the message, how do we? What are we thinking? And how we communicate? What we are to communicate? How much are we going to communicate? The level of the communication process. Are you going to talk to me? We're going to talk to children. We'll change. We talk to an adult. We talk to our friends. We talk to our colleagues. So message. What are we talking about? What are we what's in the message? So like you're emailing me. That's a form of communication. Um, yeah, the message. You write a message. You're talking to me. But what's the content all about? And making sure it's clear. Channel. The method businesses transmit. So the variety of channels or mediums, I call it mediums, communication mediums. Let's use that. So we have the computer. You look as you're listening. I'm communicating through the computer. We communicate through email. We write letters, correspondence. We fax, facsimile or fax machine. We fax documents electronically to other people. We have our smart devices. We go on Facebook. No, I'm not on Facebook. Okay, I'm just demonstrating that. Okay, then we go on our iPhone or Samsung, whatever, and we log in and we talk to our friends. Okay, so you do a chat message. Okay, communication. This is one medium. The traditional telephone. Most of us don't use the telephone, so we have our cell phones with us. Encoding. This is a kind of a technical part of this communication process. Encoding occurs when businesses evaluate what must be done effectively, put into the message into a format that the customer will understand. Failing to correctly determine the customer's ability to decode the message could lead to confusion and misunderstanding. So, one of my biggest things that is communicating with clarity. If you communicate with ambiguous communication or confused communication, uh, some people will be either upset or they don't understand. For example, the wireless coconut wireless. That you have a rumor, and it reaches at the end, it'll morph. It'll change. The story will change. So don't spread rumors. Okay, stay away from that part. If you're going to communicate, make sure that in the business format, you are, before you send that email out or you're writing a document, read through it. Make sure you understand what you wrote. looking for any type of grammatical errors, and that your thoughts are written down carefully, logically, consistent. So, encoding is important. Decoding is the opposite. When you're communicating to me in a letter format or email, um, or smart device, do I understand what you said to me? Am I decoding it correctly? Do I understand? If you use acronyms, I'm bad on acronyms. LMK, OMG, OL, LOL. When you're doing proper business communications, you can't use that type of that wording. You need to be clear with full sentences and full lettering, making sure that they're checked, grammar checked, and spell checked. So that's part of the written communication, which you should have taken in English, but there are classes are available. Feedback. So an idea is given to you, you kind of interact with the person giving ideas. That's feedback. I don't agree with you're telling me something on an procedure. This is a great idea. Let's put it into plan. Then you kind of don't see it working the way it should work, and you provide positive feedback, constructive feedback. Sometimes feedback can be negative because we're human. We feed on negativity, but being able to change that to being positive feedback and encouraging feedback, or I encourage feedback. I want to hear what you say to me. Like when I'm doing my photography, I want to know how's my product doing. Or when I go back to the table and I'm serving the guests, they provide me feedback that the steak was great or the service was lousy. So feedback can be positive or negative. I later on in your readings, you see it'll discuss how to turn a negative into a positive, and that you can read on your filters. Factors that are distort and affect the message people receive. They include among things attitude, interests, biases, expectation, experiences, education, beliefs, values, background, culture, and gender. So there's a host of filters. Basically, how we understand things, the way we're raised, the culture values that are instilled in us, the way mom and dad taught us, the way papa and mama and grandpa taught us, the culture we're from, Jap- Asian culture, mainland culture, Spanish culture, Filipino culture, has an effect on how we decipher things. If those who later on in the text he'll talk about the culture. People coming from other countries coming to America to work and to either immigrate. They know how to speak English, but the cultural values that they have are different from us. You understand? Okay. So that comes with understanding diversity of individuals. It's very important, especially in the hospitality or in business, that whoever you come in contact with, we have a diverse uh, population of people or customers. So, being effective communicators is important. And there are some tools and ideas that will help you communicate appropriately to your audience from diverse cultures. It's a whole different subject. I like diversity because I get excited because when I go traveling, I like learning about different people, about religion, about food, things like that. So, as a college student, if you open yourself to traveling outside Hawaii, it's exciting because you meet different people. In this business or any business, you meet different people. If you advance yourself into management, guarantee you're gonna have a lot of people to deal with, and how you communicate with them will the will depend on the filter that you have. Noise, the physiological factors, um, the level of tension, what we're feeling, um, can interfere with the reception of information. So if we're feeling tired, and somebody's talking to us. Yeah, you're not gonna get everything. You might get bits and pieces, and you'll be in a state of confusion. Noise can include environmental factors like inhibiting communication and listening. So if you're talking to me in a loud live band rock concert, or if you're at the nightclub and you're telling me something business, um, and the bass is boom, 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 and hey, can you hear me? No, no. Yeah, noise. A lot of noise would not help us when we're trying to communicate with somebody. So look at this process. Um, Very important to know. This chapter is pretty. This is a very important chapter to all of what I believe is important is communication, because in the center of what we do is customer service. We all need to communicate. All right. So if you've read the creating positivity, so positive communication, I like that. I like be positive. I want to be positive. We'll get negative here and there, but for the most part, having to communicate positively and to encourage others and to encourage yourself is very powerful, especially in our mindsets. Um, so we have this acronym called PLAN for effective communication, and our text kind of touches on it in more detail. You can read that. It's quite lengthy, so I won't go. But it basically covers prepare for positive customer interactions, like customers, why they are important, address customer expectations positively, nurture a continuation. So let me just give it a nutshell. So when we prepare for our customer interactions, we're about to go out. A car salesman goes out to sell cars, so they got to prepare themselves either for a sale, possible sale, or rejection. Trust me, when I went to buy a car, I'm pretty hard with the car salesman. So we need to know what our customers are thinking. How will they respond to when we say something positive? Hopefully, that's part of building the relationship, as I've talked about. Um, is building strong relationships, either with our classmates, with our peers, and our people that we do this. Let customers know they are important. They are. They're important in all respect because they are buying our products and services. Without them, we would not be in business. We would not have a job in the customer service industry. Um, so, yeah, let them know they're valued by thanking them, showing appreciation for the business. Most large companies show appreciation to customers by giving them bonuses, discounts, rewards like credit card, Hawaiian Airlines. So these businesses makes their customers know that they're important because they're important to the business by showing appreciation by having programs in place, um, expedited service, whatever they're coming up with. Address the customer's expectation positively. So customers and us, I'm a customer. I have expectations of certain things. So like I go out for dinner. I have expectations of having a good time. We as customer service people need to extend that to the customer and go above and beyond the norm of what we do. So that creates a positive response. It's like what I call the wow factor. It's like, wow, I didn't expect that. Wow, the service was great. So keep that in mind. Nurture a continuing relationship. So when our customers have a positive when we prepare for customer interactions, the customers are acknowledge that they're important to the business. We meet expectations of the customer that forms a continuing relationship of trust, especially when it comes to products. From customer service, returns, credits, technical issues, we can call 1-800. They were able to give us support with a technical issue on our computers, so things like that are important to keep in mind in terms of nurturing a relationship with between the customer service person and the customer themselves. Okay, so guidelines for positive feedback. I won't spend too much time with this one. You guys can read this. But what I will hit on, like I mentioned before in my other videos, communicate with clarity and concise and appropriately. I'll throw that. It's right there. Appropriate. Okay, so avoid critical feedback and negative language. Do not provide feedback if it's damaging to the customer provider relationship. So sometimes we need to just keep things to ourselves and just blow it off, sleep it off. Sometimes the customers will tend to get on our back. Our bosses will be on our back. So there are negatives along with the communication process. But this is one of the hardest things as a business person, a customer service person, is that we will have negative situations. We will have challenges with but how to communicate effectively in a manner that is appropriate will help us move on and overcome. And it shows that your strength. And later on, it'll talk about assertive and aggressive communication. Okay, so here we have verbal and nonverbal feedback. So feedback can come in two ways: either verbal, where something response is given to the sender's message that allows the sender and the receiver to know what was received correctly. Nonverbal feedback is feedback sent through other than spoken means, so written, email, text, letter, fax. Okay. In nurturing your let's see, where was I? In your notes, I kind of skipped ahead. There's a whole bunch of listing here, so let's go back to plan. So pet peeves, letting know what the customers are important, making customers feel welcome, focus on the customer as a person. Use customer centric language, use small talk, use the I and the we messages. I understand, we understand. Uh, ask positively phrased questions. Be specific. That is good. Be specific on what you're talking about. I'm big on specifics. So if I'm given an instruction by my boss communicating, I want to know what specifically I need to do and what needs to get done. Specifics. Nurturing. Here's a good one. Nurturing relationship. Ask permission. What I read in the text is that, especially when you're talking to someone, or if you're busy, um, and you got another caller coming in, as a customer service representative, being polite and appropriate, you would ask permission if the person can be put on hold. So you read that in your text. So it's good to ask permission. You can just hold, please. No. that's very inappropriate, very unprofessional. You would say, "Hello, thank you for calling. May I place you on hold?" And okay, thank you. So agree with the customers. Like most people, customers like to hear they're right. Varying on the situation, I kind of have a mixed feelings about that. But listening to the customers is important, but you're not going to give them the world to satisfy their complaint. There are certain levels of things we can do and we shouldn't do and try to satisfy the customer. For instance, in the hotel business, um, there are some customers that just want everything, but they not willing to tip and they're not willing to pay for it. They just want freebies. So be careful um, when you're talking to people. That's why all these communication is key to making sure that people don't get away with free stuff. Okay, free is good, but you can't give them steak and lobster. No, you can give them a dessert or a credit, something like that. So know what your company policies are. All right, so where were we? Okay, so nonverbal feedback, manage body language. So this is a good one. Uh, Sitting upright, eye contact. I'm speaking clear to you. You're listening. You're not like this. Yo, what's up? Mel's in the house. Anyway, and or sorry, this is one of my hip hop days. Sorry, guys, a little funny. Anyway, so you're talking to me. I'm listening, but I'm. Some people like to butt in and da 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 da. No, 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 no. Anyway, so two-way communication. Eye contact is appropriate because you're showing that you're listening attentively to me, and I'm understanding what you're saying. So I'm receiving what you're saying. I I'm filtering what I'm filtering what you're saying to me. I understand. I get it. Uh, don't say that I get it, especially when you're disagreeing with somebody. Just be calm, nod your head, and say I agree with you on that. Um, yeah, that's a great idea. So you see how the exchange of wordings makes communication. Avoid negative communication. Oh boy. Refrain from using vague and weak terminology, global terms as big words. Um, with my job at with the government, they like using big words. So if you're ever in a federal job, um, yeah, you'll have a lot of big words. Uh, Verbal finger pointing. It was you. You're the one. You're the problem. You can't do this. You can't do that. Da 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 da. It's like no, don't do that. You gotta be constructive and appropriate. Especially if you're a manager, you just can't scold your workers. That in today's work, in today's workforce, you can't respond that way. There's proper ways to uh, counsel and correct people in a manner that won't belittle them but will lift them up. Um, and that's another thing about communication. It's not here, but part of negative communication is don't be condescending about people. Um, don't belittle others, especially because that's not fair for them. So communication can uh, be in that context, belittling and being condescending in your communication, especially if you're in a manager, supervisor position, and you need to correct people for doing something that's not to company procedure. If you're when you become a manager and supervisor, As you read on with your text and your studies, you'll find that the hardest thing to do at a manager's job is having to discipline people. But it is part of the responsibility of management or being a manager or supervisor is that we're there to correct the situation, recover whatever is lost, and ensure that it doesn't happen again. This is all about communication, but we need to do it in a way that is professional. Will not You don't want to tear people down, you want to build them up. You want to encourage them to get help, get the training, get the resources, whatever they need, whatever uh, weak areas they might be weak in. How can we help them? So communication is part of that process. So please keep that in mind, especially if you're pursuing a management career field. Um, there's certain techniques you'll learn this in management classes. What is the proper way to correct individuals, um, your subordinates. So communication, please, as a business professional, do it right. Be fair. Be consistent. Um, Assertiveness. Okay, so projecting a presence that is assured, confident, and capable without seeming to be aggressive or arrogant. So we're going to talk about aggressive and assertiveness and aggressiveness. True, projecting an image that is assured, confident, and capable without seeming to be aggressive or arrogant. So being assertive in your communication, there's various styles and techniques to being assertive, being being an assertive, communicated person. Varying on the situation, we can assert ourselves. So we need to be in the moment what's happening. So how you communicate with your coworkers or with your customers, with assertiveness, but you're not being aggressive. Um, comes with skill and time because you just can't be assertive. Learn to be assertive overnight. It's a skill. It's an art. It's a Like I mentioned in my notes, is that communication is not only two way, but it's an art. How do you how do you communicate with an audience? Um, how do you communicate with your children? How do you communicate with your spouse? How do you communicate with your significant other? How do we communicate with our parents? How do we communicate with grandpa and grandma? How do we communicate with people from a different culture? So that it all varies. But how we assert ourselves in those different scenarios is all dependent on how we think and what we say. We should be thinking on how to say before we say it. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Think before you speak. Okay, basically that's what I'm saying. So think. How are you gonna talk to someone? What are you planning? Um, like I have my photography business. I'm working with my clients. Finding out what their needs are. I'm communicating with them. Okay, if I'm able to do it, I'm able to package something for them. So I'm asserting myself to the guest, the customer, showing that this is what I have, but I'm not being aggressive or rude. We'll get to aggressive in just a second here. So it also says in the level, style, and behavior of the culture. So like I just mentioned, this being assertive has different styles. It has different techniques of being assertive. Assertive is good, especially in the business field. It's very competitive. Customer service or business, you're applying for a job. There are a lot of people, and it gets competitive. How you assert yourself in the interview, yeah, it'll impress the interviewer because you're assertive. You're bold. You're able to stand up with confidence and talk. But you're doing it professionally and not rude. Okay, so I can't. This is one of my favorite words, assertive. I love this word, assertiveness. especially when I'm writing my resume. Personality. Who am I? I'm assertive. I'm attentive. I'm confident. I know what I'm talking about. So assertiveness is a very powerful powerful on the mind because it lifts up your self-esteem. It builds self-confidence. It makes you have a life, not life. It'll make you a person that has courage. That's the word I wanted to use. So if you put assertiveness and courage together, you'll be able to take on some difficult situations. And guess what? We learn from those situations. We grow and we start to assert ourselves further. I love this word, assertiveness. So be assertive in your communications, but don't be rude. All right, so let's talk about aggressive behavior. This is I guess here we have behavior cues, how being non-assertive and assertive. So here we being assertive is eye contact, shaking hands, firm shake hand. When you shake hands with a person, a nice firm shows that you're confident, not like, hey, what's up, man? Hey, high five. Hey, what's up, dude? So don't do that when you're, say and eye contact. Say, hi, it's nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you. Let's talk about this. Can we sit down? Oh, great. Okay. This is the one. There's sound and volume. How high, how loud you speak, how soft you speak. You speak like a mouse, or you speak with confidence and boldness and with maturity and knowledgeable. Sorry, just being funny anyway, taking responsibility. We what we say. We need to have some accountability because if we say the wrong thing, guess what? It'll come back and haunt you. Most times, as we see um, the political upheaval in the recent elections and in the inauguration of Donald Trump as our president, it's been yeah. You may not agree with me. I like Trump. He's very assertive, very straightforward. He likes getting people uh, upset, and that's his persona. He's a very aggressive person. So you may not agree with me in that, but what I'm saying is what's happening in the media. Look at the communication that is going on in the media, the newspapers. It's all this stuff is going around. How you filter that is solely dependent on you, based on your cultural values, way you brought up. If you're into politics, if you're not, you don't care, or that all varies. So communication is all around us. Let me throw this in, going off on a tangent. It's like when I don't like negative information. I don't like violence. I stay away from news of the war or terrorism. It's sad, and that is very negative. And we can be affected by even listening to the news. That's why I tend to turn off the TV and don't watch news. I'll watch local news because I like pretty much the local news is I can digest that. So I'm filtering this information, the communication from the media. So be careful. How you influence people, or how you say and what you say is important. So be with there's another word that is communicated in the verbal communication is how to articulate information. You'll learn this. I'm learning this in my master's degree right now. Is articulation and assertiveness. They go together. Um, how do you articulate proper information? Like I'm communicating with you. I need to articulate the text and on the lecture notes to you in a fashion that is understandable, that is supportive, and assertive. So you see how these the communication is dynamic. So I'm hoping you are being encouraged by what I'm saying. But yes, uh, articulation is important, especially when I'm giving information out or receiving. I need to be articulate. So this is a very important concept in the communication process is being articulate in writing, especially if you're doing advanced studies like me. I need to articulate what the author is reading to me at a level that I'm able to understand. I try to communicate at a 100 level. Sometimes I will go off the tangent with a little advanced stuff, but that's how I communicate. And if it's overwhelming, this is another thing about being in the communication process is that we can be overwhelmed with too much information from communication. So, how do the taking bits and pieces of the information is part of the verbal communication process. We can't digest all the information one time. Sometimes we need to go back to it. And like if we're listening to something, like you're listening to me, I may speak too fast or maybe too confusing, maybe too advanced. You probably need to rewind the video and articulate what I'm saying to you. You need to articulate what I'm writing to you. I need to articulate what I am writing to you. See how it goes together? So, making sure what I'm writing to you is clear, concise, appropriate to the audience I'm talking to, which is you, my students, and ensuring that you understand what I'm saying. So, this is a lot, and this is what I've learned. So, I'm just sharing this information with you. So, assertiveness, articulation, and deciphering. Okay. Here's your comparisons of assertive versus aggressive service. So, assertiveness assists in solving problems. Aggression escalates the problem and causes relationship breakdowns. There's a whole um, section about this. I would highly encourage you to reread this, put it into your mind and your heart, because as you put this together and understand what is going on, you don't want to create a hostile environment, because trust me, everybody's not going to agree with you, and you're not going to agree with them. That's communication. It can turn into a fiasco. Please be mindful of how you communicate. If you communicate in being proactive, okay, being engaged, being supportive, being encouraging, so being assertive. So these are little techniques in the communication process, verbal communications, so we understand what we should do or how we should communicate and how we shouldn't communicate. So once again, there will be conflict. Yes, conflict. Hmm. Interesting. Like I said, nobody's going to agree with you, and you're not going to agree with them. But the whole communication process, especially verbal communication, especially when you're dealing with a deal or you're dealing with two people, two workers not working together, what we call is coming to a compromise, bringing them to the table. So there's conflict. Conflict is good, conflict is sometimes bad. In your text, it kind of covers both. Conflict resolution is developing an outline on how to resolve something is important. So, for instance, you have the two workers, co-workers, John and Jane, or John and David. They're not getting along. Oh, there's conflict. It could be a personality issue. It could be a cultural issue. It could be any number of things. But as a manager in the customer service industry or any business, communication and resolving the conflict is important to bring harmony to the team. From my experience of working, I've seen this. Even I have conflict with some people. Um, there are some people that are just annoying. There are people that are just too critical. There are two people that are just doesn't make any sense. So bringing the real world to you, if you're just starting to work, for those who are working, you understand what I'm talking about. You're not going to get along with everybody, but you have to work together. There's this old saying that uh, we need to work together, but doesn't mean I have to be your friend. Uh, that's kind of true, and then it's not. If a great team has great communication, the manager and employee communication is good because there's trust between the manager and the supervisor to the employee. So the communication, it covers all kind of areas. So be careful um, how you communicate with people. And if somebody's saying something to you, and it is, you have two things: you can tune them out, make it go one ear and out the other. You can be receptive to it. You can uh, be careful when you communicate with people, especially negative people. And I'll throw this in because negative people or grumbling people like to create chaos and conflict. And there's sometimes opinionated, sometimes they're unhappy about their job. So be careful of people that are negative and argumentative, and we can't we can't avoid them. They're there. I'm just being honest and truthful with you that when you enter the workplace, you'll have people that are negative. They like conflict. They like creating chaos. It's the reality of the work life. But we want to be positive as much as we can. It's a struggle. Trust me. I've been there. I experience it every day when I'm at work. Not every day. I mean, at my day job, yeah. But for the most part, when I'm serving in the evening or I'm working with my photography, um, it's a little bit more mellow. But sometimes I just want to make sure I make you aware that there are things in life, in the work life, that's not all roses and peaches and birds and what have you. There are stones and there's rocky roads and there's thorns. So I'm just doing a metaphor, metaphorically speaking, that nothing is what it is. So when you look at causes of conflict, B, we're almost done, guys. Hang in there. Give me about 5 more minutes here. Um, Conflicting values and beliefs, personal styles and differences, differing perceptions, inadequate or poor communication, contrary expectations, inadequate communication, goals that are out of sync with reality, um, opposition of shared resources, outcomes dependent on others, and a misuse of power. Um, in some work situations, some managers and can be power hungry, so that is a reality of life of management. Some people lets the power and their authority go to their head. So fortunately, it does happen. So we try to make sure that if we're ever in a situation such as that, we it can be difficult to get out of sometimes, especially when you're dealing with customers. You have the right training and the right knowledge how to address customers in the way that they should be addressed. Um, that is helpful. Another throw in is that everybody's different. Yes, everybody's different. We're all different. We we have different personalities. You know, so keep in mind that yes, people are people, and we're all different. Forms of conflict between individuals, individual in the group, individual in the organization. So I kind of touched on that there will be workers in the workplace that are not happy with their job. Between organizational groups, between organizations. So there's a variety of conflict situations. They do vary. For the most part, if you're a pleasant, assertive, confident, mature individual in the customer service industry, you'll probably do really well. Because let me throw this another nugget. I call these nuggets. Is that if your personality and your communication style, you're able to change or adapt to diverse populations, that is gold, because you're able to change from situation to situation on how you communicate with people. So, like for instance, in my day job, I work with older people, I work with local people, I work with tourists, I work with my bosses, I work with my peers. So I'm constantly bombarded with a variety of situations, and everybody's different, but I love it because I'm able to adapt differently to different situations. So that as a customer service representative, professional, being adaptable to the situation and how you communicate with your customers, the diversity of customers will make you a really strong person and very liked, because you're able to your boss, your manager will see that in you because you're able to adapt to different scenarios and different people. So mastering the art of communication in a diverse way in a diverse population will make you a great communicator. Salvaging relationships after conflict. Wow. Like said earlier, that not everybody gets along with each other in the workplace. We all got to work together. We will have differences. That's who we are as human beings. You have dislike or like, agree or disagree. That's the thing about being human. But what is important is that the people come together. They come to recognize that the conflict can be productive, and if it's done in an appropriate way by doing these things. Remain calm and keep open minded. Be proactive in avoiding conflict. So that's, yeah. If you see conflict, get away from it, or get away from negative people. I stress this a lot. If you're negative, you're doing an injustice to your peers. So try to see yourself. You know, if you see people that are negative and complaining, and you can't avoid them. You're there, but you don't have to be subject to that negativity. Do something else. Find some other work. Find other something else to do in your work day. Identify and confront underlying issues immediately. So, for example, the conflict between John and David. We gotta. As a manager, we need to get involved. We gotta find out the facts. We gotta find out what's going on to resolve the situation, because it can escalate and it can affect the harmony of the team. So, as a manager, your verbal communications, you have to be assert yourself and find out what's going on between John and David, or Cindy and Susan. Okay, because you want to work in an environment that everybody is cooperative, they're happy, they like each other, they get along, um, and most times become friends. Like me, I'm able to make a lot of friends. It's just me. I mean, I'm a little nuts, crazy, and a little bit too energetic, but for the most part, I'm able to make friends, and I like working with different people because I'm able to communicate with them. I'm able to adapt to them. I'm able to assert myself when I need to, varying on the style of what I'm doing. So, underlining issues, gotta find that problem, gotta take care of it, because it's gonna make everybody unhappy. If your workers are frustrated and unhappy, guess what? The customer will see that, and they probably will not come back. Anyway, clarify communication. Make sure that John and Sydney, John and Susan, or what have you, are communicating and it's clear. So, for instance, you have a situation that you need to involve yourself in between John and David. there's a process to rectifying the situation where whatever it is, making clear, setting what they call points to follow or a checklist that what we need to do to recover something. So clarify the communication process to both parties, saying that we need to do this. Let's do this. Okay, step by step. Stress cooperation and not competition. So between the two parties, even when it's a customer and customer service and customer, there's conflict there too. Because you're trying to make a sale, you're trying to help them, but the customer's like being unreasonable and they're trying to undercut you, what have you. So being empathetic and listening to the customer is important, but also realize that you can't just give away the world. Focus on resolution efforts and on the issues. So, like I said, the checklist of finding the what is wrong, developing a plan of action to correct the problem, doing a follow up, making sure that everybody's doing what they need to do, and ensuring that they're accountable. Even us, managers, supervisors, have to be accountable. And it's part of the communication that we're talking. I have my boss I need to talk to. I have to talk to my employees, ensuring that they know what they're doing. So we need to focus on resolving the issues as quickly as possible so that we don't lose business and we have a happy team. Follow establishment procedures to handle conflicts. So each company, each organization, each industry does have a set of procedures in place to addressing conflict resolution or conflicts. Um, Whatever company you are working, um, they do have procedures. Some have employee assistance programs that you can talk offline in a fashion that is confidential and private. They'll provide you some information and resources how to resolve any uh, issues that you may have in the workplace. That concludes communications, verbal communications in the workplace. So this is this subject, chapter 3, is king to all of the other two chapters. And as we go along in the chapters, you'll find that effective communication, verbal communication, is important to all of us because we need to listen, we need to speak, we need to understand what we're listening to, um, the environment that we're in, and who we're talking to. So how communication can affect us. Like I said, that I don't like listening to the news, is because there's so much negativity in the world. So I shut it off. So those elements can affect you psychologically here. So be careful. Staying away from negative people that complain and grumble. They're there, but we have to find ways to avoid them, or just stay away, or not to ignore them. Business is business. We got to talk about business. Okay, so but be rest assured that as a communicator yourself, an effective communicator is knowing who your audience is, if there's conflict, how do we resolve it so that we can move on. Okay. Anyway, thank you for listening in. This is a very long lecture, but is key to our success in the business industry or as a customer service professional, because in all that we do, we all need to communicate with each other. Anyway, take care. I hope you listen to your homework. Please do your homework. Turn it on time. I really want everybody to participate. Please participate. Those who are participating, thank you so much. Hats off to you guys. Congratulations, we did very well. I want everybody else to do well. It's not a hard class. Like I said, read the chapter, view the video, do the notes, prep for the exam, answer the questions. Please stay tuned for your projects. It'll be coming online on La Lima and in your syllabus. Take care. God bless. Aloha.